Welcome in, YouTube, to our second recording of the day, where we are starting post-game for Shadowbringers. We just got done finishing up the main expansion, so go watch that video, which probably either hit YouTube yesterday or a couple days ago, depending on what day this one drops. I don't know what day we're on right now, but I know we're like a week and a half behind when I stream it, so I don't know. Don't forget, YouTube, though, that you can catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/CalebGames here, where I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, starting between 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific time. And why don't we go ahead and hop on over to the game capture now, so we can start this post-game. Morrighan, gods, is it good to see you. I hope your being here means you've had your fill of rest. Not so much as 40 winks, truth be told. You're too selfless, that's your problem. But you'll be no good to anyone if you don't take a break every once in a while. Anyway, not much has happened since your last visit. I had planned for you to meet this helper I told you about, but he refuses to answer his link pearl. I do hope he's alright. We've been exchanging messages with the Eorzean Alliance throughout, though. They say the fighting has finally stopped at the Gimlet Dark, and that the Empire showed no sign of movement. Which means we might actually have a moment to ourselves for a change. Seeing as you're back, maybe you could tell me more about your time in the First. Great! Oh, and if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Lamine to join us. She'll want to know what happened to Minfilia, and I think it's best she hears it from you. We'll meet you on the terrace at the House of Splendors. Alright. Once we get back to the Crystarium, we will, purchase some poetic gear. As I say, we should be pretty close to capping, so. Morrighan, my, it has been too long. Tataru did mention that I would be joining you, did she not? She did. Thank you. Words cannot well express how I have longed to know more of the First. This world Minfilia has sacrificed so much to save. But come, rest your feet. Tataru should be arriving shortly. And so Minfilia chose to pass on her gifts to the next oracle? This girl who Thancred named Reen? To have such a burden thrust upon her as a child, only to embrace it when given the choice. In that respect, they are quite alike. It would seem her legacy is indeed in capable hands. Morrighan, might I ask a favor of you when you next return to the First? To tell Ren what I cannot. To tell her, thank you. And I would offer thanks to you as well for staying with her to the end. Begging your pardon, but could I have a word? That was the wrong voice for real. Ryle! I hope you're here to tell me you've received word from our helper. I wish. Nay, I've not had a peep out of him. It's been a good long while now. Too bloody long. On account of which, I'm going to sneak over the border and see if I can get a signal to him from closer up. But what if they catch you? There must be another way. Well, it ain't as if we can ask Thancred to do it. Besides, I shouldn't have no trouble picking me way through Gimlet now that the fighting's died down. Gods know there's enough shadows to hide in. And it beats waiting around here twiddling my thumbs. Any road, I just thought I'd let you know. Now I'd best be. Ah! I nearly forgot. Kryle's at the stones and she wants a word. Something to do with the patients. She was getting ready to examine them again when I left. We'd best head back then. I'm sure it's important. Yeah, I believe this is when we find out some very important news. As to, you know, time limits, potentially, on our friends and their lives. It seems she's still examining them. Oh, I do hope it's nothing bad.
You're here. Good.
So, how are they?
Still locked in slumber, but otherwise in good physical health. For the present, at least.
For the present?
Dun, dun,
Oh no,
dun.
is something wrong with them?
I'm afraid there may be. I summoned you after detecting faint signs of instability in Thancred's corporeal ether. But subsequent examination suggested all 5 might be affected. And when I examined them just now, my fears were confirmed. Tellingly, the degree of instability varies between them. Thancred exhibits the most notable signs, followed by Y'shtola and Urianger. The twins' ether, meanwhile, remains relatively stable, but there is a change there too if one knows to look for it.
Oh no.
Hold on. Isn't that the order they were called away in?
Indeed. Which leads me to believe the instability will only increase with time. Though I can but speculate, I fear this may be a symptom of a weakening link between body and soul.
By the gods! What happens if the link is broken?
I cannot say for certain. This is all unknown territory to us. Yet whatever happens, it cannot be good. Mercifully, the instability is still only slight. And you may rest assured Master Matoya and I will do everything in our power to keep it from worsening. Be that as it may, it is imperative that you find a way to restore our friends' souls to their bodies.
No rest for the righteous, eh?
I realize you've only just returned from saving 2 worlds, but time is not on our side.
But where's she even supposed to start? We had the greatest minds in the realm hunting high and low for an answer, and they ran out of places to look.
You stated in your report that the Exarch had originally intended to reverse the summoning process by means of his own death, correct? Raha always was a reckless young fool, ready to die for the first righteous cause that came along. His plan might well have worked, but I for one am glad he never had the opportunity to see it through. Even if it does mean our friends must remain stranded a while longer. There is another way, I am sure of it. And the key lies with him, with the Exarch.
Well, then
Pray return to the first and apprise him and the others of the situation.
I was gonna say, I should probably go talk to him, shouldn't I? Before I choked on my own spit.
We'll do what we can from here. And, if the fates are kind, We will have good news to share upon your return.
Alright. Bring back the webcam. Now I gotta go speak to him in the ocular. Let's just return, because that'll save us some money. And then we will, like I said, we're gonna buy some poetics real quick. Because always good to gear yourself with better gear. Crypt Lurker. We'll get the, Curious. The legs. We'll go Helm and Gauntlets. Because these should all be... Oh, let's use these real quick. I'm gonna sneeze, hold on. There it was. Oh, that was such a wind-up for it. My apologies. Let's get the better paladin gear equipped too. And back to Gunbreaker. Nope, not mount real quick. I want to go to minion. Because apparently you can show the Graha minion to him. Oh, okay. Ah, Morrighan, you are returned. I hope your time in the source was suitably restful. But of course it wasn't. Go on. Their corporeal ether shows signs of instability. By the gods, the possibility never even occurred to me. If you have returned in the hope that my research has yielded a solution, I fear you will be sorely disappointed. 'Tis but a mercy we have the likes of Mistress Kryl and Master Matoya to keep our friend's bodies safe while we wrestle with the problem. But they cannot forestall the separation of body and soul indefinitely. Come, the others must be told. Voice acting? No. Maybe? So we just get to see them talking, but we don't even get, like, the little blurbs. Okay.
Pray excuse my late arrival.
Will Thancred and Reen not be joining us?
Nay, milady. With apologies to all, they beg leave to pursue their investigation of the empty to its conclusion. Should matters here demand their presence, however, they did assure me that they would make themselves available.
Yes, of course. Then let us proceed. I think it best that you begin by providing a summary of Mistress Kryl's findings.
You guys are dying. Your soul and ether are leaving their attachment to your body.
I suppose it was only to be expected that some change would occur.
Yet our souls seem unaffected, to my eye at least. How long they will remain so is another question. Kryl is right. It is imperative we find a way to return to the source.
Perhaps an explanation of the method by which I brought you here will yield some inspiration.
Here's hoping.
Ere I begin, it must be noted that I am by no means a gifted mage. In order to employ powerful magics, I must rely upon the Crystal Tower and its boundless reservoirs of energy. The magic that summoned you was no exception. 'Tis a singular spell, adapted through painstaking effort from the technique that transported me to the first. To use an analogy, it works by cutting a hole in the fabric of reality. A hole tailored to the object of summoning, through which it and it alone may pass unscathed. Though I succeeded in creating said hole, I failed to latch onto my intended target. Instead of you, the spell found those close to you, and ended up summoning them in their incomplete state. I would not soon throw my life away, not after the lengths you and yours went to save it. And so long as I breathe, I will spare no effort to see you safely home. But should all else fail, and your lives be at stake, there remains one sure method.
Oh! What was that for?
How can you even entertain such thoughts? You owe your life to the Warrior of Light, and you don't get to die unless she says so.
Damn right. You get him, Alizé.
Your followers await your divine judgment.
What did you just...
If the two of you have finished, perhaps we could return to our discussion? Rather than dwelling upon the multiple failed attempts at transference, I think it would behoove us to focus on the solitary success. I would draw your attention to the fact that our friend can travel between worlds possessed not only of her body and soul, but her personal effects besides. This is no different from the teleportation magics to which we are all accustomed. Magics that allow for the transportation of those inanimate objects one considers to be an extension of oneself.
Okay.
Are you suggesting that simply by considering us her possessions, she could carry our souls back to the source upon her person?
Well,
It's
it
not
would
a
be
bad
nice
idea.
if things were that simple for a change. But vague notions of ownership seem a rather tenuous thing to stake our lives on. So much as a moment of doubt on her part and we'd be left floating in the rift.
Milady hath the right of it. The requisite fixity of belief would be too much to ask even of our friend. Yet were we to immure our souls within an object in her possession, mayhap then our safe passage could be assured. White Auracite would, I believe, serve as a suitable vessel for this purpose. It was conceived to imprison the massy soul of an Ascian, and should house one of ours with relative ease. We would need only to ensure our soul's safe preservation inside the stone, and identify a means by which they might be transferred back unto our vacant bodies.
Soul preservation and transference. I believe I know of someone who may be able to assist us. On the far shore of the source, there stands a great palace built by the elves. It was forsaken in the wake of the flood, but a certain Numo chose to make their home there soon after. Though they have long lived as a recluse, they once occupied a place of honor in Verbert's royal court, and it is said that none in all of Norvrant is more knowledgeable than they on matters of the soul.
Well, let's go
Well,
meet
I've
them
no
then.
objection to seeking a helping hand, but if they've gone to such lengths to hide themselves away from the world, what makes you think they'd be willing to lend us one?
A worthy question. Years ago, I myself tried and failed to solicit their cooperation in the battle against the Sin Eaters. No sooner had I begun to make my plea than they unleashed a swarm of their familiars upon me. Unlike me, however, you have curried favor with the Fae folk. By that merit alone, I am hopeful that they would grant you an audience. They may still be inclined to turn you away, of course, but if their knowledge might feasibly facilitate your return home, we have to try.
Okay. Let's grab... I mean, that's not bad, but is there one that does crit? No. Alright, we'll take the oysters on the half shell then. Alright. The Grand Cosmos, that is the palace we seek, stands on the opposite shore of the source. I will arrange for a boat to carry us there. Whilst thou journeyest thither, I think it best that I devote mine energies to the creation of white oversight. By thy leave, of course. The process requireth no small amount of time, and should the New Mao consent to lend us their aid, we will have need of a suitable vessel ere long. Agreed, and I would ask the rest of you to meet me in Sullen, and do be prepared for a warm reception. Is that a pun? Because one of the bosses in here uses fire? What do you mean, Exo? What do you mean? Desolation. I was like, where am I going? I forgot. But I remembered. It's a long flight though, so I was just wanting to get a head start on post-game because we have 12 days left this month, and I have, of those 12 days, I don't know how many streams I'm going to do, so we're cutting it close, sort of, on finishing Storm or Shadowbringers before the end of the month. Because in my head, completing Shadowbringers includes post-game. So if I can do about a post-game patch per stream and per day of recording, we'll have it. As I told you before, I had scarcely set foot on the palace grounds when I was set upon by our host's familiars, and I expect our reception today to be no different, which is why I propose we march through the main gate, weapons drawn. I'm sorry, but are we not here to petition for assistance? You can't honestly think barging in and looking for a fight is going to persuade them. Actually, I believe the Exarch may have the right of it. They have no doubt poured a great deal of time and energy into their creations. Were I them, I would be most interested to meet with those who should overcome my defenses. As would any true seeker of knowledge, and there is little we can say or do to convince them to help us if we know nothing of their character, nor less why they chose to hide themselves from the world. But if we can seize their interest, mayhap we can earn ourselves an audience. Agreed. Weapons drawn it is, then. Though I must say, Exarch, you certainly seem to be enjoying all of this. I mean, she's not wrong. Do I? Well, I will not deny that I enjoy the thought of fighting alongside you all rather than pacing about inside the Crystal Tower. You both seem to be in rather high spirits if you ask me. Not that I'm surprised. Your moods invariably improve when Morrighan is around. What exactly are you implying? She averted a calamity, and the light which seemed destined to consume her has been extinguished. 'Tis only natural that we would be pleased to see her. Yes, well, you will... Oh, sorry. Yes, well, you have plenty of time to celebrate her good health after we've finished here. Of course, then let us proceed to the palace. The Grand Cosmos now accessible. Here's hoping we can get this one ran with a group of people so it goes quicker. Ooh, we got lucky that the Dying Gasp was the one that popped, because we still had Amarat selected. That's funny. We are almost level 81. We're gonna zoom way out. There's a lot of Lakeland that we did not actually interact with. Holy crap, I'm just now realizing that. The Hour of Certain Durance. Alright, I guess it's not nearly as big as I thought, like, because this line is cutting off quite a bit. Okay. It's not as much as I thought. It looked like a holy crap, like a bunch to still do, but... Oh, gotta go a little further this way. Okay, now it's like the very middle. I saw that enemy there and I thought it was a, like, something to look at. I was like, really? Just out in the overworld? No quest attached to it or anything, huh? And then the name appeared and I was like, never mind. Okay, we finished mapping Lakeland. Oh, come on. What are you doing, buddy? Standing up on there on the ledge like that. I definitely feel like one of these tower tops should have a lookout point. But none of them did. Oh, we have a DPS that's queued now. I guess with having one DPS in at least, we can give it until 6 minutes. Because at this point, we're just waiting for one healer and one DPS. Oh, hey. There's a lookout. How far back do I have to go? Not that. Now we have 2 DPS. So we just need like a healer that's queued up for a leveling roulette. Come on. Can't take that long to get a healer because we have another DPS. I'm gonna wait 1 more minute. And if it hasn't popped by 7 minutes, I'm gonna do it as a trust. All right. Merchant. There we go. There we go. Let me stance up real quick, just so I don't have to try and remember to do that once we get in there. Who are you people? And why are you here? Music here is pretty good too. Bum, 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 bum. All right. Sprint. Can I hit something, please? Yeah, I'm not going to use my slow yet, because almost all of these things are like right next to death. Swish and flick, and there was something else in there that was said. Alright, apparently you can't stun those. I thought you could. Oh, you can, but you can. I just didn't. Even though my stun went on cooldown. Make that make sense. Hey! We're still under the protection of my thing, so I'm not gonna worry about moving too much. The broom mechanic here, it's not hard to avoid. It is hard to avoid and keep your uptime, I think. Yep. That hurt. That hurt quite a bit. Okay. It feels like things go so much smoother when you actually run them with real people. Like, normally, how are you? Why are you way over there? Why did you do that? Normally, we're like just finishing up the first boss if we're running this as a trust. It was here? Perfect. Hey, it's Holder of the first. Okay. I did that too late, damn it. Ode to Far Winds, huh? Now we have to... Okay. So... we are getting ready to go into what I consider to be one of the most annoying pulls of this dungeon. It's not this very next one, it's actually the last pull. This one isn't all that bad. And it's not even so much that it's a bad pull, it's just annoying. In, that the enemies take a surprising amount of time to beat. I also just realized that our red mage's name is Tough Puff. I love little names that rhyme like that. Yeah, it's this pull that's annoying. Because you have to pull it in 2 groups. Get everything grouped up together. Hey! You knock that off. Yeah, because these guys, they take forever to die. And it's just annoying. Alright, you can't stun that. Which is good to know. You have sullied these halls long enough. Come, Lugus. Our guests yet want for company. The insatiable flame, Lugus. Dun 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 dun. All right. Nice job, Sage. Like, that was a good use of your dash. Healer? Okay. Woo. I knew they knew what to do because they had did the mechanic right. go. If anybody wants to use the LB, like, at any moment, there we go. I was gonna say, now would be the time. Is taking a little longer. This fight in particular is feeling like a grind. Woo! GG, y'all. If the healer sticks around, I'll commendate them, but I doubt they will because I'm in a cutscene. That's a cute dress on her, too. She did. Ow.
That was my fiercest familiar. Oh, impressive.
Backlook, 'tis good to see you again after all these years. And judging by your vigorous greeting, I dare say the feeling is mutual. To be sure, a simple shake of the hand would have sufficed by way of welcome, but I shan't complain. But you must be wondering as to the purpose of our visit. We come to beg your assistance in a most urgent matter.
I don't like how they do that. Like, they shouldn't be able to use power words like that.
Sake? Beg?
Our comrades' very souls are in danger. If we are to save them, we will need the benefit of your unsurpassed knowledge on the matter. Please, will you not sit and hear our plea?
Oh, how dare you! How dare you speak thus in my presence! It was to escape such words of temptation that I hid myself from the world of men. You are sinners, one and all, and I swore never again to have any part in your affairs.
I can only imagine what terrible events forced you into a life of seclusion. But I know that the Numo are a good and noble folk. It is not in your nature to turn a blind eye to the plight of those around you. And in treating with us, I am certain whatever mistrust you feel for man will begin to heal.
Alphino, you're losing my respect, boy.
If you will not be satisfied, I suppose I could listen. After all, there's no harm in just... No, I mustn't. Not again. That damn court mage seemed to have the best of intentions too, and countless innocents died for my naivety.
That isn't your fault, though.
Oh, you know not what you ask of me. What horrors my knowledge has wrought.
You mean the magical plague of Vobert?
You know of the plague?
I do.
Then you know how dangerous soulcraft can be. Instead of saving your friends, you risk damning them. Are you sure you're willing to take that chance?
No. No.
Oh, very well. I will hear your petition, but that is all. And I expect fitting payment for my troubles.
Commensurate with your contribution to our cause. No more and no less, I promise you. With that settled, might I impose upon you to join us at the Crystarium? I'm afraid the nature of my friend's predicament calls for absolute secrecy.
Okay. Let's bring back my webcam. There you are. The others have gone ahead to the Crystal Tower with Beck Luke. For the record, I truly wish we hadn't had to resort to using such words when treating with them. I have ever sought to convince, not compel. Yet I cannot deny that a part of me is glad Arianje shared his knowledge of the Numau with us. Had he not, Beck Lug wouldn't be here. Speaking of whom, we should hurry. To keep our guest waiting would only add insult to injury. Yeah, I know. Do this stuff with the trust now. We mustn't dally here any longer, Morrighan. If Becklug is to hear the truth of our travails in the first, you of all people should be present. Alright, back to the ocular! To the Docile Gate. Actually... yeah, I don't even think we have enough to get a accessory. Do you have business with the Crystal Exarch? Just say that he says the same thing every time, and half the time I read it and the other half the time I don't. And usually every time I start to read it, I go, why am I reading this? Once again, lots of voices without having voices. Words being said is what I meant to say.
I'm sorry. You mean to tell me not only that the return of night was your doing, but that you hail from another world as well?
I do indeed.
Everything we told you. Of the source, the shards, the 7 umbral calamities. All of it is true. I realize how fantastical it sounds, and I would not blame you for doubting our testimony. But given your expertise, you must surely have noted the peculiar nature of their souls.
Any other time and I would have dismissed your stories as balderdash and flummery. But upon closer inspection, 'tis plain their souls are far denser than is normal, and that they do not possess true bodies. Save you. Your body is your own.
You are right.
And your soul is the densest of them all.
As I said before, were it not for their heroism, the skies over Norvrant would still be awash with light, the realm yet at the mercy of Vorthri and the Sin Eaters. After all they have done for our home, seeing them safely back to their own, it seems the very least we can do.
Your tale is intriguing. Yes, very intriguing indeed. Simply to hear it is fitting payment in itself.
Well, that's good to know.
As for your friends, I can but agree. Their valorous deeds on behalf of Norvrant are deserving of recognition, of their own fitting payment.
You will help us then?
I will. I would see my knowledge put to good use for a change. I do have one condition, however. I am not the spry young Numo I once was. As such, I will require assistance in my fieldwork and testing.
Seems only fair.
It would be our pleasure. We'll be laboring for our own benefit after all.
You have spun quite a tale, but tell me, have you given any thought as to how you might return to your world? Kind of, I guess. They're gonna go as possessions of mine? White Orisite, you say? An intriguing proposition, but one which fails to account for the present state of your souls. They have become highly charged, likely as a consequence of having maintained tangible forms for so long. In such an energetic, unstable state, there is no telling what may happen to their souls within the Orisite. They could very well become immutable to transference, never to be restored to their bodies. Then, would it be possible to force our souls into a state of dormancy prior to transference? In theory, yes! But the soul is not a candle to be snuffed out and relit on a whim. Well, that sounds ominous. What exactly would rendering our souls dormant entail? In order to maintain a corporeal form, your souls constantly draw ether from your surroundings. This process must be halted, and the resulting surfeit of ether removed. Your minds would ultimately be separated from those faux bodies of yours, rendering you incapable of interacting with the world around you. A cruel fate under normal circumstances, but one which will be rectified upon your return home. leaving lifeless husks like those poor souls at the end of Journey's Head. Corrupted by the Sin Eaters, their ether made stagnant by the light. Corrupted? Stagnant? Might I see these unfortunate individuals? Why? Do you think you might be able to help them? I might, or I might not, but I shan't know for sure until I have seen their condition firsthand. Then I would be glad to take you to them, on the understanding that you won't do anything which might increase their suffering. It was my faith in man I lost, not my compassion. Well, I see no need for all of us to accompany you. While you escort our guests to the end, I will assist Urianger in creating the requisite aura site. I believe my talents would be better applied to that endeavor as well. Might I leave the three of you to assist Beck Lug as necessary? Yeah. Let us make for Amarong then. Okay. To the inn at Journey's Head. So this is Halric, is it? Yes, his etheric balance leans perilously toward the light. Towards stasis. What do you suppose will happen to him? Not too bright, are you, boy? The same as all poor souls corrupted by light. He will become a Sin Eater. You don't know that. We've defeated the Wardens and banished the light from the night sky. Halric was completely unresponsive before, but now... Mumble. Then perhaps there is yet hope, If I may, there is a treatment I wish to administer to the patient. What sort of treatment? In the course of my studies of the soul... Sorry. I just got distracted by something real quick. In the course of my studies of the soul, I once created a tonic which could temporarily stimulate the ether in one's body. After some refinement, it came to be used by the Knights of Vober. Then, for far darker purposes. Lest it fall into the wrong hands, I swore never again to make it. But for their sakes, I will break the oath. It is not like to reverse the stagnation, mind you, but it should offer some measure of relief. Alright. Here you go, Totten. Stares blankly at you. It would seem the tonic has had no effect. Connell. What is this warmth I feel in my chest? And then Voin. Let it work. Let it work. I feel warm, and my legs, they don't feel as heavy. Okay. Welcome back, Bridget. Now then, have you noted any change in the patients? A notable rise in body temperature and increased motor function, in most of the patients at least. The more severely afflicted show no response. As I feared then. 'Tis true that with the restoration of night, the corrupting influence of light will no longer grow, and yes, their bodies will naturally return to equilibrium given time. But god damn it! My controller's pissing me off. which is why those in the later stages of corruption, like Halric, appear unaffected by your tonic. Precisely. The boy's soul is too far gone, his mind held together by the finest of threads. There is a chance he may one day recover. Sorry, my foot itched. Of course, but it could take years, decades even. By the gods, he could wake to find himself an old man. A fine reward for his persistence, the opportunity to mourn the life he never had a chance to live. No, there must be something we can do. Look, I realize this is not why we petitioned your aid, but do you think it possible we can find a way to hasten their recovery? Maybe. Nor do I think it impossible that in treating them, we might learn something of relevance to your own predicament. Okay. Tenacity, direct hit, vitality, determination. That's what we'll go with. And yes, Bridget, we have made it to post-game. We've actually ran the first dungeon of post-game. I suspect the Crystal Exarch has told you of my past, that I was once a mage of the Royal Court of Voberd, and that soulcraft was my field of study. The tonic you administered to the patients here is one of the fruits of my labors. I hope to do great things for the kingdom. Ah, but in the end my knowledge brought only suffering, a plague the like of which none had ever seen. In the hands of unscrupulous men, what should have been my greatest triumph instead became my greatest shame. You mustn't dwell in the past, and now you have the chance to redeem yourself. At least the warriors of light brought those responsible to justice. You mustn't dwell in the past. I'm not going to tell them they have a chance to redeem themselves. I know that only too well. Alas, the knowledge we require is steeped in such bitter memories. But let us return to the task at hand. Finding a means by which we might revitalize these people's incorporeal ether. Do you think it can be done? Were the sky still ablaze with primordial light, I would call it an exercise in futility. But now we may have a chance. The method I have in mind will entail the conjuring of a familiar. They are able to amplify the energies poured into them, making them the perfect conduit for the ether, revitalizing magics we will ultimately employ. If you're about to launch into a lengthy explanation of the metaphysics of your plan, don't bother. I'd rather get on with doing whatever it is that needs to be done if it's all the same to you. I admire your spirit. The purest of waters and finest of clays, as well as a fey lantern brimming with pixie magic. If you're convinced the resulting familiar could help the patients, fine. Alfino, the water and clay will be simple enough, but I think you know what we'll have to do to get the lantern. You don't mean... The pixies took quite a liking to us before. If we humor them with our company, I'm sure they'll be willing to help us. Fine, we'll pay a visit to Ilmeg, though I never thought you would be the one to suggest going back there. I'm impressed you've been there at all, let alone befriended the Faefo. Oh, while you're at it, seek out the Numau of Pla Ini. They will be able to supply you with water suitable for your needs. Right, let's get this over with, shall we? There still remains the matter of the clay. Might I prevail upon you to find it? Yeah, I can do that. Clay from Amarong would likely be best. Know you of anyone who might be able to assist us? I can ask the miners at Twine. Ah yes, they will be able to point you in the right direction, I am sure. While you and the twins are occupied, I will see if there is aught else I can learn of the stagnation which afflicts the people here. Alright, let's teleport to Twine. Why didn't we just ask our branch? Because it would have been too easy. We finally did remember to call upon her help, though, when we needed people to let us, or when we needed Bismarck to carry us to the Tempest, and she was so happy that we did. Morrighan. Well, what a coincidence. You've come at a good time. We've just this moment finished repairing the Talos and trolley you took to Naboth. The trolley was no trouble, but the Talos would have been another matter had we not had a visit from Master Chai. He offered us a share of the leftover building materials from Daedalus Stoneworks, as well as a few trade secrets to help us along. Clever man, that Chinese. He seemed pretty keen on the ideas I had for putting the giant Talos to work. Like a giant trolley, but Magnus still refuses to see all the good we could do with it. You're entitled to your dreams, Jarek, but that doesn't mean you can go harassing our guests with them. Master Chai was just being polite. And something tells me Morrighan here didn't come all this way to talk about trolleys. What is it you need, friend? I see. And this familiar requires clay from Amarong. Well, look no further. If anyone can find you some quality clay, it's us. Saying that, it isn't exactly a commodity nowadays, but there must be some lurking somewhere or another waiting to be dug up. If I'm not mistaken, there was a time when they used to take clay from Mount Biran mines to make adobe bricks. Place is swarming with coyotes now, but if you're after the good stuff, you could do worse than to look there. Okay. To the Mount Biran mines, then. Which are right over this way. I feel like we were just here. On, like, Friday. Maybe it was Thursday, actually. No, I think it was Friday. Because yesterday we did the 79 dungeon. So 77 would have been on Friday, yeah. You ignore me. Good job, bird. Alright, there's one. Two and three. They were all right around this rock formation. I should have figured as much. But no, I tried to overcomplicate it. Yep. Wandering coyote, huh? Alright, back to the inn at Journey's Head. Why am I flying? It's right here. The twins have returned, and in one piece at that. I was convinced the pixies would turn at least one of them into a garden ornament, but no. You have the clay, I take it? I do. Wonderful. We need but combine the clay and the water, then heat the mixture with the Fey lantern. After that, it will be a simple matter of settling upon a suitable form, performing the necessary incantation. Becklug, I have a question. In the event that we need of this spell and you weren't around, would it be possible for another to perform the incantation? Assuming they possess the requisite skill, yes. Halric and the others have suffered so much, and I swore to do everything in my power to save them. If there was a chance this spell could do that, I would be the one to invoke it. Mayhap you should be the one to do so. A deep understanding of the subject's physical state, combined with a strong desire, to help them can drastically increase the magic's effect. And you are plainly more familiar with these people than I. I dare say there are a few in all of Norvrit more dedicated to finding a cure. Is that not so, Morrighan? Very few. I'll give it my all for Halric and for Tesleen. Then we are all of a mind on the matter. Alize should be the one to conjure the familiar.
Let us begin. I trust you've prepared the clay? Very good. Now, I would have you sculpt for me a porksy. Plump, with floppy ears and a short curly tail.
A porksy. I think I know what you mean.
This is so good. You're not wrong, Bridget.
There we are. How's that?
Well, it is certainly creative. There's no denying that.
Can it, Alphino? You can't even swim.
Yes, I'm no artist. Very funny.
Pay him no mind, child. Though it may look like a grotesque parody of reality, it is what the invoker believes that matters.
And I mean, that is a great nose for a pig.
You're not helping.
But I speak the truth. If successful, this incantation will turn imagination into reality. Which is why the only thing of import is what you believe this figure embodies. You must focus. Hold the Porksy's image steady in your mind's eye.
I'm assuming, Fatty, you mean the thing on the back, on my character's back. That is the gun sword.
Now then, as I taught you, relax and allow your energies to flow.
I was kind of hoping it was going to pan back there in a second so I'd be able to be like, that thing? But it hasn't yet, so... It is, hands down,
With
my favorite
flesh
one.
of clay, I bid thee rise. On wings of dreams to touch the skies. What once was idle fantasy, I call forth to reality.
Not bad for a first attempt. Now, let us see what can be done for young Halric.
Squall is the wielder of the gunblade. Cloud wields the Buster Sword, which is the giant-ass fat sword. So, you had it sort of right. You knew Squall might have been.
through the operation of the magics you invoked to animate this familiar, it is now replete with the energies required to stir the boy's soul. You need but give it a name, and it will do as your heart desires.
A name. All right, I've decided. Now. Go, Angelo!
Mother,
I mean, it was a good choice of person who think was cool. Need to bring my webcam back for a second. Squall is probably my favorite Final Fantasy character. Okay. No, not Alpha. No, talk to Alice. I mean, 8 is also my favorite game, so anything connected to 8, my favorite Final Fantasy game anyway. I'm all in for. How is he, Becklug? Did it work? I believe it did. You and your fledgling familiar have done well. If my eyes do not deceive, a hint of color has returned to his soul. Gods, I would jump for joy if I weren't so exhausted. We're so close now, Halric. As you are even now in the process of discovering, this magic asks much of the invoker. What you may not have realized is that the same is also true of the subject. As such, we must proceed with caution. However, with further treatment, I have the utmost confidence the boy will make a full recovery. Observing the reanimation of his stagnant soul has been most enlightening. I will need time to put my theories to the proof, but I believe I can fashion a spell to produce the opposite effect. That is, to induce stagnation, thus enabling our safe transport back to the source via Auracite. It does. I hadn't noticed that. A thought occurred to me about this treatment. Becklug said when the soul is rendered dormant, the mind is separated from the body, that a person becomes incapable of interacting with the world around them. Does it not sound a lot like some of the tempered back in the source? Not really. It is the fate of most tempered to become slaves to primals, save in a handful of cases. Or am I missing something? If I can master this technique, the art of revitalizing the soul, I know of at least one in the source who could desperately use such treatment. Gabu! Exactly. His condition is uncannily similar to Halric's, is it not? The only difference being that his soul was suffused with earth-aspected ether instead of light. It follows that if his soul is subject to a similar kind of stagnation, there may be a chance we can save him, right? Forgive me, but who is this Gabu fellow of whom you speak? He is a kobold of the source, I see. His condition does sound similar, yet there is much and more about the soul that remaineth unknown even to me. I say this not to discourage you, you understand, but to remind you that this is delicate work we do here, work requiring patience. Of course, and as long as there is hope for the patients here, I will devote whatever time is needed to see this through. But I refuse to spend that time in idleness. If it's all the same to you, I'd like to stay here with Angelo and continue with their treatment. The two of you should return to the Crystarium with Beck Lug and see if you can't make some headway with their newly posited theories. I would tell you to rest first, but I see you're not to be convinced. Oh, the fires of youth. Let us return to the Crystarium, then. Finally, I've found you! Kaishir! Kaishir, what are you doing all the way out here? There's trouble back in Yulmore. Lady Chai's beside herself, sighing, pacing, the whole lot. Near enough begged me to go and find you. Sighing and pacing, you say? It must be urgent. I take it I will be returning to the Crystarium alone. Go on, then. It's not as if I have anything for you to do. Thank you, Becklug. Sorry for bothering you and all that, but she says the future of Yulmore's at stake. Oh, wow. That sounds pretty intense, but you know what else that sounds like? That sounds like a very good place to end for the day, so that we can pick this up tomorrow. So, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and had a good time. I also can feel my energy dropping a lot right now, so I feel like this last hour's been a little rough. But thanks for sticking it out anyway. I really do appreciate it, and we will be back tomorrow with more of this story. Picking up with Kaishir and Dulia Chai and her fear of Yulmore's future. Hell yeah, fatty. Hell yeah. I 100% stole that idea from you and Faye's stream. But thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for lurking. If you lurked, I appreciate it all the same. And I will see you all tomorrow.